Hi, it's Mr.G at Memorial High School, and I'm here with Kevin Witt, new teacher at Memorial, and he's a woodworker, and he's going to go over kind of like what he calls a show and tell. He's got a bunch of examples of wood and how to pick them out, and here we go. All right.
All right, guys, we're going to start over on my right over here, your guys' left. This is like, we'll call this old technology here. This is a beam from a house. This is how they used to make houses, how they used to frame out floors and houses. This came from a row house in Philadelphia. It was probably built in the early 1900s, like 1910, 1920. The school was built, if any of you guys know, like mid-1920s. So you can look at the size of the nails that were put into this. There was some guy out there with some big-ass arms pounding these in all day. These things are hard, and I mean, you just look at the size of these things. But this is how we used to build houses. What do you got?
Would you say that like the school has those type of woods and nails too?
In this school, there's a lot of concrete and a lot of brick here. But I'm sure if there's any framing in here, there's a good chance you got stuff like this. I wouldn't put it past you. Like I said, old technology. This is the heavy duty stuff. You know, this, like I said, is over 100 years old. Probably the tree it was cut from was probably 100 years old. So this is just holding a really old piece of wood there. Again, more examples of old technology, building materials. But these are all structures. These all came out of a house when they were demolishing it. I went down there, I salvaged a bunch of it, I filled my truck with it, I made a bunch of furniture pieces, tables, benches. You know, some of this stuff has oil-based poly, or it has a sealant on it, you know, when you finish it out. So you can actually see, these are two of the same pieces of wood, but how different it looks once you put some sealant on it. It actually turns yellow or gold amber. You know, different sealants will do different things, but it is the same type of wood. You can even see
So is that what happens to the floor?
Yeah. That's what the floor is. Yeah, the floor has an oil-based poly on it. It gives you that amber, that honey, you can say like a honey tone. Yeah. So like I said, old technology, new technology. You go to Home Depot, you see these all day, all different sizes. These are just 2x4s. This is pine. Same species of wood. This stuff is just basically extinct. It's yellow pine because they harvested the shit out of it. It's all gone. That's why it's so popular nowadays to get reclaimed furniture, because that's the only place you can get that wood. Everything else is grown on a farm. It's grown. It's basically made to grow fast and harvest it and then keep going. See the rings here, how wide in the grain, how wide apart it is. Yeah. If you look at these, how tight and close they are, because these trees had a hard life. They were drought, harsh weather, everything. These trees were kind of like veal. They were given everything they needed: fertilizer, wood, excellent conditions, protected against bugs, everything. And that's what new technology is for building stuff. So that's your structural kind of wood.
That's cool. It's like people.
So here I just have some random examples of hardwoods and other woods. This is poplar. Okay. Poplar is considered a softwood, but it's kind of more like a medium hardness wood. Advantages: cheap, easy to come by. Okay, good to make furniture out of if you're just going to paint it, because it isn't a great looking wood. It doesn't look that great. You got green and blonde, and it can have black, purple. It can have purple stripes in it sometimes. It's not a great looking wood. Easy to work with, great for a beginner woodworker, especially if you're going to paint it, because this stuff's made out of poplar. It doesn't matter what it's made out of. You're going to paint it white, and it's going to look fine. And it's going to last a long time, and it's stable. It's a good wood to work with if you're just going to paint stuff.
So that's using the same material?
It's the same exact material.
Oh, it feels different too. Like sanded out and everything.
Yeah, because it's been processed, but that's what it looks like there. This black walnut, one of my favorite woods to work with. If anybody's logged on to the Google Classroom, I have a picture of a vanity that I built using this exact wood. And it's all finished. There's an actual, this is what it looks like when you have finish on it. You can see how different the color looks. Yeah. It really clarifies it and really gives it that detail. But this is really, so many cool colors come out of this. Purples and reds and browns. It's just a really, really cool wood to work with. Expensive. And it's not, it's a little more difficult to come by and to work with. But just, aesthetically beautiful wood to work with. This is a piece of mahogany. This stuff has got some weight to really hard. And you guys, like I said, I encourage you to come up here, feel the weight of this, try to put your nail into it. You can't. This is hard stuff. Only get this stuff down in South America. There's African mahogany. This is what they build down there. This is what I was saying. That trying to use tools on this, you will mess up your tools. It's really difficult stuff.
Are there any soft woods here?
Softwoods? The poplar is considered softwoods. These pines are considered softwoods.
The rest are
So
all-
we'll get to that. Yeah, this is typical oak. Get this at Home Depot. This piece was gotten at Home Depot. Okay, again, the grain and the rings very wide apart. This was grown on a farm specifically for this purpose, to harvest it, to make it. So this had an easy life, this tree, to grow, and they cut it down. Okay, this is also oak, but this is really old oak. Okay, this tree had a tough life. Grain is very tight. You can feel the weight difference between these two. This piece of wood actually has a history. It comes from New Jersey. Back in the 60s, there was a big hurricane that came through New Jersey. Forget the name of it. I don't know about that one. But it knocked down a whole lot of trees everywhere. And what people did back then, they took those trees and you just make slices like you're slicing bread. You take a tree, you slice that tree up, and you let it sit for years. And it dries out.
Where do you find that?
I found this piece on Craigslist. Because what happened was the estate was settling on this farm. They were getting rid of all the farm equipment. They opened a barn and they saw a whole bunch of wood that nobody even knew was there. This has been sitting since the 60s. This has just been sitting, not doing anything, longer than I've been alive. So I picked up a bunch of it. I made a bunch of tables out of it. But you could see how messed up. I mean, you would look at this and be like, oh, this is crap. You know, look at this wood. It looks awful. You sand it up a little bit. You do some processing to it, which we'll show you in this class, and it comes out beautiful.
Wow.
And it's old, and you can never buy a piece of wood like this anywhere. You would have to find it, reclaim it, pull it out of an old structure. And one of those things about being on the East Coast too, I mean, you guys all had American history, right? All the original colonies are on the East Coast. The oldest structures in America are on the East Coast, okay? That's where the oldest wood is coming from. You don't have old wood like this out in Cali and some of that. You have old wood out there, but it's not as prevalent as it is around here. You see those shows on the DIY networks where they're going to Virginia and they're going all these places and they're reclaiming stuff. It's pretty much all on the East Coast. It's a phenomenon that's around here, more or less. Another hardwood is called Sapele or Sapele wood. You can see finish, no finish. Finish, it just totally changes the color and the tone of it, of the wood. Really, when you get good finish on there, it really brings out the beauty of the wood, so you guys can get a chance to look at that. So these are all, like when we broke it up over there, real and fake manufactured. This is all the real stuff right here, pretty much. This is all, the actual stuff that comes right from a tree. So we start going into manufactured stuff over here. This is plywood, but it's given a face, or what they call a veneer to it. It's given an oak veneer. It's the same as this hardwood oak, like we were talking about before. They put this stuff, they put a big piece of oak on a big machine, they peel it like a potato or an apple. You get a real, and it's amazing how thin it is. It's as thin as a piece of paper. And then they just glue it to a cheap old piece of plywood, but you get a nice finish on it. You can make furniture out of that too.
And it looks
Now
like it's oak.
And it looks like it's oak. But the disadvantage to plywood is when you cut it, you see the inside of it. And that's ugly. No matter what you do to it, you can't, even when you paint it or anything like that, it still doesn't look that good. So you always want to cover. You cover up the edges with a real piece of wood. And you kind of give it the illusion that it's thick. You cover it up the old plywood, and you can kind of make it very uniform. The other advantage to this is this piece right here adds structure to this. When we're talking about sagging shelves, and you see real good quality bookshelves, they're going to have this front note, they call it a nosing or a piece on it. This adds structure to it. This keeps this wood from bending. You got this piece of plywood here, and you put it on your knee, you can bend it. This is actually pretty good plywood, but it doesn't bend as much. But give it a couple years, put some weight on it, this will sag. You put a nosing on it like this, it's not going to sag. Put a lot
For the
of weight.
nosing, you would have to put in all four sides?
Not usually. You're probably going to attach, if this was a bookshelf, imagine it wider, you're going to have the sides attached. You just need it really in the front.
Got it.
You give it that structure in the front, it'll be all right.
Same with sheet metal. You bend a piece, it gives it structure.
You give it that return. Yeah, you take a flimsy piece of sheet metal. If any of you guys seen sheet metal, you can just shake it. It's just wobbly. As soon as you bend it, it stiffens out. You all right? Like I said, this is a cabinet door. This was just a sample that I made. And it's made out of this poplar wood. And it's just painted. if anybody ever wanted to see how a door is put together, it's kind of cool. It's like a puzzle. Just these pieces. They're machined, to fit together like a puzzle. And this is how I keep stressing about measurement. I mean, if you want to make a cabinet, you want to make a door, and it needs to be a specific size, you got to really be on top of your measurements. And this just goes together, and a little bit of glue and everything, clamp it together, let it sit overnight. You get a door like this, little sand, a little paint. This, looks like you bought it at a store.
Cool.
That's how, basically how a cabinet door is made.
Nice.
Kind of like a picture frame. And this middle piece is MDF, man-made material again. Sawdust and glue, just pressed into a sheet. If I'm painting it, doesn't matter, It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's going to get painted. So take a look at that. That's how you do a cabinet door. Talking about Ikea furniture again, this is what it is, particle board. Sawdust, wood chips, glue, heat and pressure, you make a sheet. This is specifically, when it's white like this, called melamine. You can buy this at Home Depot. Big sheets, $30 for a giant sheet of it. Real cheap. Again, adding the nosing to it makes it look, covers up the ugliness of it, gives it structure. You get a nice shelf looking out of it, and it keeps it straight.
So this part here is also not real wood. This is
what's called MDF, which we wrote up there. Again, sawdust, glue, heat and pressure, it makes this. This is also MDF. When you do a lot of trim and stuff, when you want to get cheap trim in the house, around the doors, around the windows, and cheap trim, it's still strong, it's still good stuff, but it's cheap. And if you're just going to paint it, doesn't matter what it looks like. Major disadvantage to MDF, creates a lot of dust, but as soon as it gets wet, it's garbage. It soaks up the water, it swells up like a sponge. So you would never want to use this in a kitchen or a bathroom. People do use it, and it's, you got to rip it out and replace it eventually. It's just going to soak up water. But living rooms, kitchens, stuff like that, you want to make trim like that, that would work. Cool. Typical piece of plywood. You can see why it's really just used for structures and things like that. It's not pretty, but it's cheap. It comes in big sheets. It's just used to build stuff. These are more examples of man-made stuff. MDF and particle board. Just to reinforce that. There's really nothing
great.
more about that.
I'm learning so much.
We were talking about doing cutting boards, like the first projects I want you guys to do and kind of think about. The cutting board, the reason it's such an easy beginner project is just taking strips of wood and gluing them together and clamping them. And wood glue is really amazing stuff. Like once you do it right, and I'll show you how to do it. It's just so strong, and so it blows my mind sometimes, and how quickly it can bond. If you want to do a nice cutting board, you can alternate pieces of light and dark wood and clamp it together, make it look really sharp, make it look cool. This is just plain oak that I was making actual restaurant tables out of. So you can imagine just long strips of wood, about 6 foot long. Got them all cut up, and glued them together, pressed them, clamped them. And this is as strong as it is, and that's just glue. That's just glue and clamps. We broke a piece off in first period just to show you that it's not the glue that fails, it's the actual wood that fails. The actual wood, the grain rips right off at the glue joint.
You can see that here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's basically a cutting board. That's how you make a cutting board. That's how you make a big butcher block table like this is that's sitting here. So we got a couple more examples of some plywood out here. So we put some polyurethane on the plywood. That's plywood. You can actually see the layers in it. It's all different thicknesses and all different, some you use for exterior applications. Like I said, there's some furniture grades, so they'll put a veneer on it so it looks good. Like I said, guys, be careful. You got some splinters here and there, but I encourage everybody to feel the weight of some things, dig your nail into it, but take a look at everything. I've tried to write the names of everything on it, so if you have any questions, just let me know. But this is just to show you guys a variety of things and a variety of ways we can prepare things, just to kind of get your minds working, think about projects, think about how you want them to finish out. All right?
Very cool. Hey, give it up for him. All right, I'm Mr. G at Memorial High School with Kevin Witt in the wood shop. all the different types of woods. Thanks for watching. See you later. That was